I decided to make this video in response to questions I get every day about Samantha. As many of you know, Samantha passed away about a month ago on September 17th, 2018. It has been a tough month trying to reconcile her death and deal with the loss of her life, but I know that many of you were moved by her story and encouraged her on this journey, so I want to tell you what I can. The most common question I get asked, as I think it's human nature to want to know, is how did she die? The honest answer is we don't know. The couple that she was living with at the time found her lifeless in her bed when they woke up that morning. Detectives came out to investigate and were unable to determine any apparent cause of death. She has struggled at times with both addiction and depression, but for those of us who loved her, the timing of her death just didn't make sense for either of those things to be the cause. The coroner has said it could be up to 90 days to get the toxicology report back to know for sure. So there are a lot of unanswered questions while we wait. The next question is, how do you know her? Well, I met Samantha about 5 years ago while volunteering with a program that works with kids who have aged out of foster care here in Montgomery County, Texas, called Angel Reach. We became very close when she was pregnant with her son about 3.5 years ago. I was a mentor to her early on, but she would become a very good friend and someone I would consider an extended part of our family. Just after Elijah was born, there were a group of us at church who began speaking to different groups about foster care and how to get involved. We were speaking quite often and realized it would be much more powerful to have some of the young adults who had aged out of foster care tell their stories and talk about their experiences. So along with a group of pretty amazing friends, we started a nonprofit called We Will Speak. Samantha was part of our very first group of speakers. Another question I hear regularly is what is happening with her son. He is currently living with an older couple where he and Samantha had lived for the past year. They are amazing people and they love Elijah as they would their own. CPS is involved and has begun the process to determine where he will remain permanently and is looking into several possible options. Thankfully, he has many people who love him and are trying to make sure he has the very best outcome possible. And another question I hear a lot, what was her story? Samantha had an incredibly powerful testimony, and I'm sorry if you never got the chance to hear her tell it. I will tell you the same things that she would tell you, because her thought was always that if it could help even just one child, it was worth it. Samantha had an incredibly difficult childhood. She was living with her father when she was just 7 years old, and he began to sexually abuse her regularly over the course of a year. He would give her marijuana and alcohol to make it easier for him to do that, and although he is currently still incarcerated for what he did, she would say that because of that, she had developed a substantial addiction to drugs as a coping mechanism by the time she was a teenager. When she was 12 years old, she was being sexually abused by yet another family member. CPS was called and she was removed from her home just one day before her 13th birthday. She would say she felt a little relieved and hopeful that she would be placed in a more normal family situation. She was instead taken to a group home where most of the girls were older, and she quickly learned how to fight to be able to survive. She would move to 13 more placements, including psychiatric hospitals, emergency shelters, and group homes, and go to 6 different schools before aging out of the foster care system at 18. She would say that upon aging out, she had not a single person in her life who she felt like she could count on. She would become part of many of the horrific outcomes of kids who age out of foster care. She would be homeless and incarcerated within a year of aging out, as well as pregnant. She would suffer from both addiction and mental health issues that I believe are largely attributed to untreated trauma in her life. Samantha struggled regularly to overcome all these obstacles in her life. She was working so hard to be the best mother she could be, and she found so much meaning and redemption in telling her story in the hopes of even helping just one child in the foster care system in the same situation that she had found herself in. Seeing her speak, though, it was hard to see the struggle she was having. She was an incredible speaker and communicator. She was articulate and confident and was just as comfortable speaking to judges and state representatives as she was to one of her peers. Finding that her suffering could somehow be used for good was incredibly validating for her. She had a powerful story to tell, and when she spoke, people listened. They got involved. They took action. And I think that is just what she would want us to do, to find some way to help kids in foster care. And if you live here in Montgomery County, there are some amazing organizations to connect with to do just that. CASA, Love Fosters Hope, Back to Basics, Angel Reach, Moses Closet, and many more. Behavioral science tells us that when we look at an overwhelming situation like foster care, if we can't solve the problem entirely, we tend to do nothing. Please don't do that. There are so many lives just like Samantha's that would benefit greatly to simply have a caring adult in their lives, and there are so many ways to make that happen. Samantha was an absolutely amazing young woman who has made an incredible impact on my family, and she will forever have a piece of my heart. Samantha taught me so much about how God pursues us and about how God sees us and loves us no matter what we have done or what has been done to us. I believe with all my heart that Samantha is with God right now and would be proud that her legacy will live on as we continue to use her voice to fight for kids who need us the most. So on behalf of Samantha, we will continue to speak.